Arsenal Fan TV, Mo, very disappointing tonight. The players just didn't have their shooting boots on.
Yeah, and these players that we're talking about are players that really should be fighting for a spot in the FA Cup final lineup. And I didn't see enough from the players today. You know, people will argue, oh, look at the stats, we dominated the game and we were knocking on the door. But ultimately, the one thing that really frustrates me, and I haven't said it for a while, so, you know, credit to Arsenal for the last 10 games, because we've gone on a decent run, and, you know, let's not lose sight of the fact that we have been on a decent run and this is just a blip. But the nature of this blip, what really annoys me about it is that when you are actually the better team on paper and you know you've got the better caliber players, you should be trying to make every second of a 90 minutes count, because ultimately cream rises. You know, the longer an inferior team has to play against a superior team, the shorter the odds become that they can actually, the longer the odds become, they can actually pull something off. And what Arsenal did today was we made that game a 40-minute game. If we offered Swansea the option to play a 40-minute game rather than a 90-minute game, they would have grabbed it with both hands, and we've handed that option to them on a plate. What we should be trying to do is for 90 minutes exert our superiority over Swansea so that cream rises. You know, ultimately we will come out on top. If we played that game for a week non-stop, we would eventually win. We all know that. So why don't we apply that same logic to 90 minutes? And it's something that we're guilty of doing many, many times. We haven't done it in the last 10 games, I accept that, but I don't think it's acceptable to ever do it. And look, we can write this game off, as Shay just said, but the Invincibles never ever had that attitude, and that's when you go and achieve greatness. When no game is the sort, you never get a free game. No game. You can
have a game when you get a slow start. We see that with many teams, even the very best of teams. They did in the second half really go for it, but do we look on it and say, do we have to give Swansea a lot of credit here, because they had everybody behind the ball, they did a Chelsea, but it paid off for them.
Massive credit to Swansea. You know, I thought Swansea were brilliant. And look, if that is a Ashley Williams job audition for today, or if that is an interview, well then well done, you passed with flying colours, because I thought he was very, very good today. He marshalled that defence. They did brilliantly well. And, you know, you can't expect a club like Swansea with their resources to come here and play us off the park, but what you can expect of Swansea is to do exactly what they did today. So I'll take my hat off to Swansea. Arsenal got everything they deserved today, and Swansea got everything they deserved today. And people will say, oh no, that's not the case because we had this many shots on target. I don't care how many shots we had on target. Every single one of them shots was bread and butter for Fabianski. And I've heard people saying, oh, Fabianski was
bread and butter, though, because the players were just hitting it straight at him. I got to say, right, that there were chances there that if players would have showed a bit more composure, they would have scored.
Exactly.
You're standing one-on-one with a keeper. You hit two players, hit it straight at him.
Exactly. And that's what I was going to say. A lot of people have been saying to me, Fabianski was phenomenal today. He was amazing today. Well, actually, no, he wasn't. You're all suffering from David De Gea syndrome, where the ball's been shot straight at the bloke and he's done a bread and butter save. Wait, you have to look at it from the sense that if any of them went in, would you be slating him? And the answer is yes, because anything other than a clean sheet for him today would have been a horrendous mistake on his part. So, you know, our finishing was very, very poor today. And, you know, when Walcott came on, he had that one chance. I'm sorry, but Walcott as a striker can only ever play in that position if he plays alongside someone. Walcott is not a stand-alone striker. Simple as that. We've experimented, we've tried again. Give up on it. He can only play next to a striker. It's got to be that little and large sort of partnership. Get the flick-ons. Today, you know, I'm just very, very disappointed with the performance today. Second place matters to me because our great leader, Stan Kroenke, he wants some money out of this club. And if we finish fourth rather than second, that's 10 million plus that he won't get. And who's going to have to pay for that shortfall is going to be the fans. People say finances don't matter, but unfortunately they do. And we need to make sure we get to second place, because I'm not really interested in where we finish as a loser, as a runner-up. I want to win the league. If we're not going to win the league, I don't really care. But there are ramifications.
You don't want to get fourth and then come back for a qualifier.
Exactly.
So second or third, but second preferably.
Exactly that. There are ramifications and you have to respect them ramifications. So second or third, I take no great pride in finishing second, but ultimately there are benefits to it, and that's where I want to finish given the circumstances. And the last thing today, you know, the players were abject, the players were poor, but also let's not just criticise players, let's not just criticise Arsene Wenger, let's criticise ourselves, because fans today were shocking. You sat in the North Bank. Today I gave my ticket up to someone who was a guest of one of the lads that sits near me, and I sat in the East Lower, and my God, it was terrible. My wife would have loved it if she had turned up today. She would have sat there. It's a nice summer's evening, watching a bit of football. She could have read a book, just look up when something happens. It was not a football atmosphere today. It was literally a theatre atmosphere. And if anyone hasn't seen the interview that Raymond from Red Action did, make sure you watch that interview, because the club, they've listened to the noise, and after a long, long time, they've done something to put it in the fans' hands. When you get your season ticket renewal, there'll be a box where you can specify that you want to relocate. And that relocation, if you want to sit into an area where people want to sing, where they want to make a difference, you need to make sure you step up and do it. It's now in our hands, and we need to do something. We've been very vocal about it all season, and now it's finally time to do something. And also, the biggest sacrifice that fans are going to have to make is fans that currently sit in blocks 5, 6, 7, whatever it is, definitely 6, maybe the other 2 around it. The fans that sit there already and need to move out of there to make room. If you believe that fans can make a difference, certain fans need to make sacrifices, and other fans need to make sure they request to be seated in there.
Theo is not a world-class striker, nor is Giroud.
So
Giroud is a first-class model, yes. Right? He's not a world-class striker.